Creating a new project would have been easier actually. Just make sure if you are creating a new project for like, of course, don't delete the code. Like, always make a new project. But if you are making a new project, just make sure you are choosing .NET Framework, not .NET Core. Okay, so we can be doing the same thing. Otherwise, we will be working on different platforms. Okay, so if you are making a new project, and of course, don't delete your previous code. Okay, this is the new project window. So choose console and C sharp, of course. Okay, and when you are choosing, make sure you are choosing .NET Framework.
Sorry, I have a question for this.
Yeah.
So the language change or some
No, it's
resource
same
change?
language, but it's different platform. So .NET Framework is the older thing that's like have been there for a long time. .NET Core is the newer thing, so it's the same C sharp, it's the same language, but this one is more portable, so it can work on Linux, on Mac OS. So it's the newer thing, okay. And as we said, it's not very a big difference in terms of learning C sharp or in terms of our program and the goal of our program, but we want to learn what's um, um, for example, what's more mainstream in Winnipeg, okay, and we want to learn something that most companies are still using, okay. So uh, just being a newer thing doesn't mean you need to like throw your project that you have been working on for maybe 10 years, okay, and let's follow the newest stuff, especially if you are not really that interested in running on different systems like Linux or Mac OS. That's why, for example, if you just downloaded Visual Studio 2019, you will notice that .NET Core is the only option available. Okay, so today we are talking about lists. Okay, so lists are a special type in C sharp. Okay, and they are also a collection of items. So in their sole purpose, they are somehow similar to arrays, but of course with um, lots of differences, and it's anyway it's a totally different class. Okay, and lists is from a bigger family called generics. So we will talk about that later. But for now, let's say that when you want to define a list, okay, you need to define what is the type of the items of this list, okay? So somehow similar to creating an integer array, a string array, but in different way of thinking, okay? We will talk about generic types later. We will see that they why they are created and what's the advantage of using them. But for now, when you create a list, you need to say, okay, this is a list of integer, and this is how you pass the parameter, okay, of the type. Okay, so this one, for example, let's call it numbers. Okay, and this is an object, so we use the new keyword. And now I just defined a list. Okay, now when you define a list, you don't have to define the length of this list, okay, which is the main difference when it comes to uh, difference between lists and arrays, okay. And also you may say, okay, so what's going to happen if I'm adding more and more items, okay. What's going to happen internally is that the list will expand, okay. So every time you reach the, of course, like when you define a list, that doesn't mean you just defined an endless list and it's like sitting eating up all your memory, okay. Of course there are like default size, like start, like especially if you didn't add any items yet, okay. But suppose this list is getting bigger and bigger, okay, and eventually you reach the point where it's full, then internally, without even you noticing, okay, without even you writing any code, okay, it will start expanding, okay, and when it reaches the like that point, it will, for example, duplicate. Okay, so for you as a programmer, you don't really care what's happening inside. Okay, the platform, it will manage the size of the list automatically. That's why it's very convenient to use. Okay, but of course, like eventually everything is limited, so you have a limited memory. Okay, your memory is the RAM memory. It has nothing to do with your hard disk and your hard drive memory. Okay, when you define a list, it's living in your RAM. Okay, so for example, if you told me I have 2 gigabytes of RAM, okay, that means, for example, let's suppose that your program is allowed to use the whole memory, which is of course impossible because your operating system is still using some memory, some other services are using memory. So for example, when you create a very big list, you are here, you may end up crashing your program and maybe your whole system, okay, because your memory now is full and your system can't do anything. Okay, so you really need to be careful when you are, for example, let's suppose that you are reading a very big file and you are saying, okay, let's put all this file in a list or in my memory or in my RAM. Okay, you really need to be careful what are you creating here. Okay, because that may yeah, like that may end up eating all your resources very quickly. Anyways, we are not very interested in talking about the internal stuff here. All what we care about that when you define a list, you don't define the length, okay? And it will keep adding and removing, like adding and shrinking, okay, as you want, okay, without doing anything. Then you can start adding numbers to it. So numbers dot add, and of course, here the list is a list of integers. So you are supposed to add what? To add an
Numbers.
integer. Okay, so you are supposed to add an integer. Now, if you created, for example, a list of strings, okay, okay, that's when your list will be expecting you to add or strings. Okay, something like that. So depending on the type, you will notice that this add function, you can virtually use it with any type because it depends on the type that you chose when you created your list. Okay, so you know that, and this is like the point of generics, okay, that they work with anything. Okay, so you will notice that add worked once with numbers and then it worked once with strings. Okay, that doesn't mean C sharp is like a language where you can pass anything to anything. Okay, it's still strictly typed, but this is like a feature that was introduced at a later point when they created C sharp. Okay, so depending on the type that you chose when you created the list, you can um, start using the functions of the list with that type. Okay, of course, the same way you add, you can also remove. Okay, you can remove, for example, so there are multiple ways to remove. But for example, if I said remove 5, it will try to remove the first available 5. Okay, if it didn't find it, it won't do anything. You can, for example, what if you want to remove all the 5s? Here you can easily write something we call a lambda expression. We didn't start them, we didn't sorry study them yet. Okay, but you can pass a condition here, something like a condition. okay, which is actually a lambda function, but you can say like remove everything, like remove all the fives, okay, or maybe remove anything that's bigger than 5. Okay, so I want this list to be only for numbers less than 5. Okay, so we will work for weeks and weeks with LINQ and with lambda expressions. Okay, we will learn them in very detailed way, but like if you want like just a heads up on how to deal with lists when it comes to removing, for example, everything, or adding also with a condition also that all of this is available for us. Okay, so there is also remove at. Okay, this one, as you would expect, it takes an index and removes the number that's there. Like remove whatever you have in the index number 0. Okay, so and it will be removed. Okay, so the most common one that we use most of the time is that when you know the number that you or the item that you want to remove, and we use just remove. Okay. Okay.
I have a question. Hi.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
So let's just take some other like functions. For example, the one that we will keep using all the time is the count function. Count function will return something similar to the length. Okay, so it will return how many numbers you have. Okay, in the list. Okay, so something like var items count. Oh, we didn't talk about var yet, so let's leave it. Okay, so integer items count numbers dot count. Okay, one that we will use all the time also is the contains. Okay, so for example, I can say numbers dot contains. Okay, and as you would expect, contains will return a boolean, true or false. So those are like the common functions uh, of lists. Okay, and that we use them all the time. Okay, because like if you want to scan a list or to print a list, you need to know the count. If you are looking for a number inside the list, you need to use contains. Okay. Okay, let's do this simple exercise. So I want you to write a function to print a list of integers. Okay, anyone is done?
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
You can hear me
Yeah, but your voice is a little bit, just
further? Okay.
yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was my problem. Okay, so see, what do you have?
No, I'm not saying that I'm done. I couldn't. I was asking you a question before, but then my mic didn't work, so I was testing.
Yeah, well, I can hear you very good now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So it's just printing, just console.writeLine.
Because someone else share, I couldn't do it. I was figuring out how to fix the audio. Sorry.
Well, that's not mandatory. Like anyone who is done, that's fine. Like don't worry about finding someone. Okay, so Suley, you said you're done.
Yeah.
I finished too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what Suley did.
Okay. Let me share. Oh. I use for loop to.
Yeah. So
from
as you can
there,
see, it's just like a regular for. Okay.
yeah.
It goes from 0 to the count of the array of the list. Sorry, and
Yeah.
then it's printing.
Yeah, printing the.
Yeah. So you pass also a list of integers. Okay, that's the whole story. Okay, just imagine it as an array. Now there's more preferred way when you want to scan a whole list. You can do something
For
like this. Yeah, as we said, we can use something like a for each. So which is like
For
more
each.
common.
Oh, can you share the screen?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank
so
you.
So let's call it print list. Sorry, we need public static void. So print list, and let's pass a list of integers. Okay. So as we said, we are printing a list of integers. So we obviously we will pass a list of integers. We can do what Slay did, or we can use for each. For each is also a loop, but it will go through the items one by one. Okay. And it's like more common to be used when it comes to lists, and we will see with hash sets and more generic types. So for each integer, let's call it I. So for each item, or let's call it item in what? In the list. Okay. What should we do here? Okay, just console.writeLine the item. So you don't even need an index here. Like when it comes to for each, okay, you can say just like you are speaking English. So for each item, but you need to say what is the type of this item, which is integer. In what? So you notice that in is a predefined word. In this list, okay, for each item, write down this item, okay? So you don't need to talk about indexes here. I'm talking about the items themselves, okay? So it's just another way to iterate through a collection. Okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
List is an array or is it an object?
List is a list.
Because
Uh,
list
list list is an object from a class called list.
okay.
You
So
you mean list this one or list this one?
oh, listed on the left one.
This one? Yeah. Well, this is a class. Yeah.
I was
it's-
asking. I was asking because in the for each it was saying in the list.
Yeah.
Is it
List. This is the
of-
name of what you passed. So, like here, I will pass numbers. Okay, right? Like here, I created a list called numbers. I will pass it to
Mhm.
print list. Okay, so please print numbers. So now list now is numbers. Okay, so this is the parameter you are passing. Okay,
This
so
is the
this one
variable.
like, so it will become for each item in numbers, the thing that you passed. Okay, the variable that you passed. Okay, write them, for example, write those.
Okay. In JavaScript, in and of was different when we are making these kind of loops. Do C# have also difference in like using of or no, just in?
In, of, no, just in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's no of here. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's yeah, that's different. That's something we'll see later. That's part of those extension methods. Okay, and part of link methods. Okay, but it's somehow similar. Okay, so let's forget about those other functions. There will be time when we talk about them. Okay, but this is like the regular for each. Okay, it's not the method for each. Okay, but they can do the same job. Okay, so this is a list, like print list, that takes a list of integer and it will print it. Okay, let's create like also write a function here. Let me tell you exactly what's the name. To print a list of strings. So I want a function with the same name of the previous one, but this one deals with a list of strings. Okay, let's try to do that.
Done.
Yeah. Let's wait for just another one.
Yep, done.
Okay,
Done.
nice.
So in making it the same name, how are we calling it?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. That's exactly why what we will see now. So since the idea is simple, okay, let's just copy paste the same thing. Okay. So we said also public static void print list, but this one will take a list of string. Okay. And for each item in this list, we want to right line them. Why do we have this issue? Sorry. For each string. Okay. So here Jennifer is asking how do we call them? Like when I call print list, my compiler or my runtime should know like which one I want to perform. And maybe the code here, now the code is a little bit similar, but maybe the code is totally different, okay? Which make it even worse. So the thing is, the runtime will be able to know depending on the parameter you send. So when you say print list in your main and you send a list of strings, okay, it will know that I should come here because this is the one that takes strings. If you are sending a list of integers, it will know that you are talking about this one. So it will be able to know which function you want depending on the type of the input that you send. But of course, if you have it the same name and the same type, both of them, that won't be allowed because now the compiler has no way to know which one you're talking about. So having functions with the same name but different types of input, that's what we call functions overloading. Okay. So for example, every time you work with functions in C#, you will notice that, oh, I can either pass a number or two. Do you remember substring? Okay, do you remember substring from yesterday? We were able to call substring, the same function, but sometimes with one integer, sometimes with two integers. So why? Because they created two versions of substring. They created two overloads of substring. One of them takes a number, one of them takes two. Maybe there's a third one that takes a string or whatever. Okay. So you can create any number of overloads you want. Okay. And of course, they should differ in either the types of the parameters or their like how many parameters. Like this one takes one integer while this one takes two integers. That's fine. Okay. Or the order, for example, this one takes a string then an integer while this one takes an integer then a string. That's also fine as long as the compiler and the runtime can distinguish them. That should be fine. And this is very this is a very convenient way for people to work. So like you want to print a list, so instead of calling them different name like print list integers, print list strings, and now you have to memorize all those different names. Okay, imagine like, or for example substring, how would you call substring that takes one parameter? So substring one parameter, substring two parameters. Okay, that will become very ugly very soon. Okay, and sometimes there's no way to distinguish them in naming. Okay, so what should you do is just keep the name as is, but change the input that you are sending to that function. Okay, and this should be enough for you to create what we call an overload for the function. Okay, it's a very common thing. They use it all the time in all languages. Okay, so if you went to an interview and they asked what is function overloading, it's creating the same function. Okay, sorry, it's creating different functions. They have the same name, but they differ with the parameters that you send, either by their number, either by their type, either by their order. Okay, anything should be fine. Okay, of course, if you change like only the return type, that won't be enough. So if you have two functions, they are taking the same exact input, but you said, okay, let's make the return different. That won't be enough. Okay, they need to be different in the variables themselves. Like one of them can take no variables. Okay, one of them can be print list without anything. Okay, or for example, do you remember the substring? Maybe there's a version of substring that takes nothing. Okay, so in many cases there is a version that takes nothing. Okay, that's also fine, as long as your program can distinguish between, okay, which one this programmer wants, this function or this function. Okay, so that's what we call function overloading, and that's why let me show for you, for example, um, so string s equals hi. So when you say s dot, let's find one like split. Okay, do you remember the function split from yesterday when we were splitting a string? Okay, depending on like white spaces or commas. I want you to look here, like once just type the dot, go to split and wait for this information box to open. Look at the end of the line 1. It says +5 overloads. So you can either see it here or try it yourself. So it's telling you there are 5 overloads for split. So split can either take like one separator, or it can take a list of separators, or a separator and something else. Okay, so there are 5 different versions of split. Okay, well, actually there are 6, because this one plus another 5 overloads. Okay, so you have 6 different splits. Okay, but they are all called split, so you don't have to create 5 different names, and now like it's a big mess. Okay, so for each function you can know how many, for example, you can say print list. So notice once I start printing print list, this information box will open. It will tell you that the first one takes an integer. Please look here. Then +1 overload. It will tell you that there is another version of print list that takes a different parameter as an input. And this is true because I have 2 print lists. Okay? So whenever we talk about function overloading, that's what we mean about them. Okay, time for some practice. So we want to write a function to create a new list from an original list that you will send with only the unique items, like a distinct list. Okay, so I will send you a list that has some numbers. Okay, let's suppose that we are talking about a new integer list. Okay, from an original int list. Okay, so let's suppose that we are talking about a list of integers. Okay, it has some values. Some of them are duplicated, but I want only the values that are like, I want a list that contains distinct values. So maybe in the original list, you have 3 5s, okay? So in the result, I only want 1 5. In the original list, you have 2 4s, okay? But in the result, I want 1 4 only, okay?
So reduce the duplicates.
Yeah, remove all the duplicates, keep 1 copy. Yeah, of course, don't use, there's a function called distinct. Don't use that. Okay, try to think about using contains, this function.
This function is only for create, or you want to print it too?
No. Why would I print? I have a function called print list. Right?
Yeah, I finished.
Yeah.
Me too.
Anyone else?
Me too.
Yeah, maybe finished too. Okay. Okay. Okay, Millie, let's see, what do you have? Okay. It's been a while since you shared anything with us. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
can you see?
So unique values, okay. It takes a
Sorry.
list. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, unique values, it takes a list of integers, okay. So you have the new list, which is the result. Okay, you
Yeah.
created a list. So what you're doing is you are scanning in a for each all the item of the input,
Yeah.
line 30. Then you are checking if this number or if this item is
Not
not
in your list.
not in the result, then add it to the result.
Yep.
Okay, and yeah, by the end of the for each, you will have your unique list. Okay, so Millie just did, and I'm pretty sure this is what Willie did too, right? Like, just like as a person, I would have like a bag, and every time I will take an item and check my result bag. Okay, is it there? Is it contained in the result? If yes, okay, don't add it because it's already there. Otherwise, if not, then add it. Okay, exactly the solution a normal person would follow. Okay, it's just translated to code, and that's the whole idea. Willie, is this the same way you did it?
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So, like, this is the most common sense way. Okay, that's why most solutions should look exactly like this. Okay, just by knowing, like, even if you don't know contains, okay, you can run another for loop. Like contains eventually internally is a loop looking for the item, but it's optimized, it's well made. Okay, it's written by professionals, so it's better to use it, and it's tested, of course. So, but if you don't have it, so in the if, instead of the if, you can run another loop on the result to check if this item is already in the result or not. Okay, so even without contains, it's still doable. Okay, thank you very much. So let's write it quickly. Let's write it quickly and see. Okay, so public static, this one is going to return a list, right? So I want to return a list. Distinct list or items. This one takes a list of integers to work with. Let's call it original. Okay. Of course, I need a place to store the result. Okay, so this one is new list. And as you can see, it's very easy to work with lists. I don't need to specify the length and do the same thing I did with arrays. It's much more like just very fast and convenient. Okay, so what should I do? I need to scan all the items one by one. For each item in the original, okay, what should I do? I need to look if this item is already in the result, then don't do anything. Otherwise, if this item, okay, if not the result dot contains this item, okay, what should I do here? I need to result dot add the item because it's not there. Okay, and by the end of this for each, I will have my result ready, and that's when I return my result. Okay, and that's the whole story. Any questions?
When we return the result, it doesn't print out the whole thing. It just prints that system int something,
Yeah.
right?
The
Okay.
console.writeLine won't print a list.
Right,
You need to
okay.
use the print list function. Yeah, it will just print the class name for you. Okay, so don't try to send a list to console.writeLine. So if you did something like this, console.writeLine numbers, this is the list, it will just print a class name. Okay, if you want to print a list, that's why the first function we created was called print list. Okay, you need to call this function if you want to print a list. Okay, not console.writeLine. Okay, let's take 15 minutes break and we'll continue with more functions and more practices on lists. Okay. Yeah, see you soon. We were talking about writing a function to have a distinct list. Okay, so okay. So we want to write a function to create a new list from an original list of strings now, where you keep or you only keep the words bigger than 3 letters.
那我要疯狂暗示了呀，我好像没有这个套装。
Done.
Okay. Let's wait for another one.
Me too.
Yeah. Really
Done
done.
too.
Hans is done. Okay, Saria is done.
I'm done.
Okay. So, Hans, can you show us your solution?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty small. Can you just enlarge the? Okay. So, bigger than 3 letters. Okay, so you have a list, and then you are scanning all the words one by one. If the word dot length is bigger than 3, then you are adding it to the list. Okay, so we are getting a feeling on how lists are supposed to work and how to filter lists. Okay, and for example, now we are not using contains, we are using like we are just checking if the word dot length is bigger than 3. Okay, this case I want to add it to the list. It doesn't matter if it's repeated or not. Okay, that's fine, as long as it's more than 3 letters. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so this one is fairly easy. Okay. Now, we want to do the same thing, but without creating a new list. I want to modify the same list I sent. Okay, so I don't want to create a new list. Okay, suppose this list is really big for some reason, and I really don't want to create another one that's also big. So I want to work on the same list, and I want to keep, okay, only the words that are 3 letters or more on the same list itself without, let me just share. Okay, so the same list itself, I want to share it. Okay. I want to modify the same list, sorry, and not create a new one for the result. Now, of course, this should be a little bit like used with caution because you are modifying the list that someone else sent to you. Okay, so you need to write in the description of your function that this one works in place. Okay, and we want to modify the same list that we sent.
And then
Okay, yeah. Let's wait for someone else. Did you try it? Is it working? Yeah, let's try it
no,
on.
okay, I will try.
Yeah, let's make it
I'm
work.
done.
Okay, did you try it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's wait for another solution. So just call it on a list and see if it's not making any problems. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Sule, can you share your solution with us? Millie, did you try it? Is it working?
Tried it with the console right, but it doesn't work. You already said, but I forgot. I have to put it in print function
Yeah, well, you can just call print list.
inside of. Yeah. Okay.
No, not
Yeah.
inside. Call it in the main. Okay, let's see what Millie has first. Since she, then we will go to Suleik.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let's share what you have, Millie. Okay. So
This one.
yeah. Well, that's correct. Yeah, but we don't want to use a function like remove all.
Oh,
Yeah, we want.
okay.
Yeah, we want just like for each and yeah, because
Okay.
there's a very important idea that we want to take from it. Okay, so this is correct. Yeah, and it's nice that you thought. Is this what you have, Slay, too?
Yeah, yeah, I do the same.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally correct. But there's a very important thing that we need to see. So can you try doing it in a loop?
Mohammed,
Yeah.
I did it in a loop, and for me, it worked in for loop instead of for each.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
each
in for each.
there's some error I tried.
Yeah,
So I
that's
use
exactly
Lookup.
the thing that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you try to modify a list, as I think Hans or was saying,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So if you try to modify it, like any list inside of for each, that won't work. Okay,
Okay.
like this is against the rules of C sharp. So you need to find another way. Okay,
Yeah,
so
for loop and
you found one, Hans? Okay, let's share it with us, please. Okay, so as you can see, I think has already tried with for each, and the moment you try to change the list, like he has list.remove in line 68, that was inside the for each. Once you try to change a list inside of for each, this will cause an exception. Okay, this is not allowed. So if like this is one of the differences when working with between for and for each. So for here, what like what Hans is doing is just he's scanning the array, and if the length is less than 3, he is removing uh, the first occurrence of the word. Okay, so this should be the right solution. Did you try it, Hans?
yes, I did.
It's working.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you can see that we are. And where did you call print list?
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah. So as you can see, like Hans first called the function that will remove the small words. Then he called the print in the main, like the function bigger than 3 letters. Okay, same list. This function should only find the words that are only bigger than 3 letters. It shouldn't print. It shouldn't even call the print list inside it. Okay, why? Because someone else maybe just wants to take the list. Now if you called print list inside that function, now anyone wants to use it will have to see the printed list. Okay, what if I want just to get the list without printing it for now? Okay, so your function should only do one thing. Okay, now it's the job of your main function or of your main website UI or whatever, okay, to first call the function that will filter, then call the function that will print. This is the job, like calling functions, okay, unless the function is necessary for the work. For example, do you remember in the complete numbers and friends numbers when we were doing, we used to call a function in a function because it was important for its work. Okay, that's fine. Okay, because in order for me to work as a function, I need the help from another function. Okay, but printing is not part of my work, so I shouldn't be calling print inside of my code. Okay, if it's not part of, like, for example, suppose that I am bigger than 3 letters, same list. Okay, okay, as Hans said, printing is not part of this operation, right? So you shouldn't print inside this function. Okay, only call functions that are necessary for you to complete your code. Otherwise, they should be called somewhere else. And of course, for now, it's the main function. Okay, so this is exactly how it should look like. One function does the filtering, and the other function will do the printing. Okay, don't even call print list inside that new function. Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Hans. Yeah, sure. Mhm. Well, there are two versions. Both of them fine. Like one of them is a property and one of them is a function. Okay, both should be fine. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I like to use the count function. Um, like I'm not really sure. Like I didn't like I always do the same thing. I didn't try to like search if there's like a very important difference or if one is like maybe recalculated every time. I really don't know. But that's something that actually worth searching. Okay, but eventually they will lead to the same result if that's what you are asking. Okay, repeat the previous question, modify. So here, like the important thing I want to show you is, so here we will also return a list of string this time. We called it.
Oh, sorry, please.
Oh,
check.
sorry. Yeah. Okay, so this one will return also a list and um, filter small words like let's call it. Okay, it will take a list of string. Okay. Okay, so we said that we want to work on the same function. First, let's try it with the for each. So for each word in those words, okay, if the word is dot length is less than 3, then okay, let's remove it. So this looks like a very easy task. So words dot remove the word. Okay, now if you tried this one, okay, so see that I'm not printing here because this is just for filtration. Okay, so here let's just call, what did we call it? It's called words 2. Okay, so filter small words. And then print it. Okay, so I have a function ready for printing and I always have it like ready for me to call. Okay, I can't use console.writeLine to print a list, okay, of anything. Okay. Yeah, this one is. Okay, so here you will see that the exception message is like really informative and it will tell you exactly what's the problem. So it's telling you that the collection was modified, okay, and you are trying to modify it in a for each, okay, and once you see this problem, you will know that, oh, something happened inside the for each that I am trying to modify the list, okay, and this is not allowed. Okay, so what should I use here? So let's keep this one as commented. So something I can use the for loop for so if the words I dot length is less than 3, then what should I do here? Words I, so remove the first occurrence of that word. That means the same place where I am. And this one remove all characters. Oh, sorry. Should be remove words dot remove. Okay. Okay, so I just want to remove it, and eventually I will return the words. Okay, let's create a new list for that. So a way to create lists and initialize the contents right away, the items, or some items, because you can add some of them later. Let's call this one words list equals new list of string. And here you can add items right away. So you don't need to call add for each one. Okay. You can here write like this is okay. So now you will have a list with those words, okay, with 4 items. Okay, of course you can add them, some of them later, you can remove some of them. That should be fine. Okay. So you can initialize like this is very common, because otherwise you will have 4 lines of add. Okay. Or you need to add range, which is like a lot of lines to write for just a simple task. So you can just initialize it right away. So I will call filter small words. So I want to filter this word and this word. Okay. And then I will print whatever is left in them. Oh, I need yeah, there's a problem here. This and a program. It doesn't seem like it's working. Okay, yeah. Well, speaking about that, let's talk about debugging. So in many cases, okay, in many cases you want to follow the program step by step. Okay, to know exactly what's going on. Like, did my program enter the condition? Did my program like enter the for loop, or what my program is doing at this step? Okay, is it going this way or this way? So we can use something called debugging and follow the program step by step. Okay, and we can even go to like into the functions, or we can follow them like from the outer statements. So if you want to stop at a place, like your program will start from the main, right? Like your program will start from here, but maybe you are not interested in seeing all of those step by step. Okay, so you can put your breakpoint. This is what we call a breakpoint. Like if you reach this place, then please wait for me. Okay, so if you reach this place, then wait for me. Okay, that's good. And once your program reaches this place, it will stop and it will tell you, okay, I'm ready for the next statement. And then you can go one by one. So of course you need to write with F5 or pressing this one. If you went with Control F5, that won't work. So once I start my computer, my program, sorry, it will go to this one, then this one, then this one, okay, all of them. And then it will go to this function, okay, this function, and it will go inside the function. And now it's stopping. Now your program, see, like my program is not printing anything, okay, except from the previous things. Okay, so my program is waiting here, waiting for me to tell it, okay, it's time to move to the next step. And there's also something very important in Visual Studio, that it will show you the variable values here. Okay, so it will tell you like I now is 0, words count is 4. Okay, so you can either press continue to go to the next breakpoint, or you can follow it step by step. So let's try pressing F10 or press this button. It's called step over. Step over won't go too deep, okay? It will just go to the lines that you can see. So words dot count, okay, still 4, so this 4 should work, okay. The first word, what is the first word? Let's see the words. The first word is this. Okay, is it smaller than what? Is it smaller than 3? Or bigger than 3, sorry. Okay, so it won't go to the if. So you will notice that your if wasn't executed. It just jumped here. And this is the beauty of debugging. It will show you exactly what's going on. But of course, all of this happens in milliseconds. In like if you are not debugging. But now it's waiting for you. Okay, so what happens then? I is incremented. So see here, I now is 1 and it's written in red because it was changed. Okay, so you will even see the counters and the indexes and everything. Okay, now the second word is. Okay, this is the second word. Okay, let's see, is it less than 3? Yeah, so you will notice that it's going into the if because the second word is less than 3 letters. Okay, now what should we do? We need to remove the word that is small. Okay, we will remove it. So it was removed and now we'll go back to the 4. Okay, so now I have this and A and program. Yeah, I guess you can see the issue here. Okay, so now the count, notice that the count now is no longer 4. The count is 3. Okay, so the count is working fine. So the count is not returning the old count. Okay, it's the new count, which is 3. Now the first word is this. The second word is A. Third word is program. Now what's the problem? What's the value of I? It's going to be incremented now. What's the value of I? 2. Okay, so where's the word number 2 here?
A.
No, the word with the index 2.
Oh, program.
Program. What happened here? Can you see the issue?
Yeah, it leaped over the A because the new count is giving us second index.
Exactly,
not
because
A.
it looks like the word A just skipped and escaped away. Okay, because I is incrementing and the word A just like went back. So now I will not get a chance to see the word A because I is going like 1 by 1. Now I is 2. So what's the word? Let's see, the word that I will check now. So words I now, okay, is what? Is the word program. While I skipped the word A. Okay, see, so now I'm able to see. So I like this example because it first shows you that for each is not good for changing like something. And even if you used 4, that's why I was asking you, like, did you try it? Did you try it? Now, the thing is, if you tried a small example and by chance only the first word was small, you will notice, oh, yeah, it's working. Okay, it's very nice. Okay, that's the thing. So when you want to try, always try to include like different combinations of examples. For example, we are trying this exercise. So try to create a list that's at least 5-6 words and try to play with the place of small words. Like first word is small, last word, one in the middle. Okay, if you only have one small word in the beginning, everything may look like oh yeah, it's working fine. So what we need to search here is what we call the edge cases. So in many cases, our wrong code will work and it will show you a good result in many cases. But the problem is with edge cases, okay? When, for example, like everything is working but the last word. Why? Maybe because your like you are going to words.count -1 without noticing. So you will notice that, oh, everything is going well, but you didn't try to make the last word as the word that you want to remove. And you didn't try, like maybe your program is always skipping the first word. Okay? So you need always to include a very different combinations of cases, okay? And try like to figure out, okay, what could be the edge case here? Could it be the beginning, the end? Should I add a prime number? Should I now add a negative number? Like always try to find those like weird examples, because it will happen at some point, okay? And don't trust your code if it's working on one simple small example, okay? And this is exactly what happened with us with this question. So we saw the code, it looks like it makes sense, but we didn't notice that we have a for loop, and what are we doing? We are changing the contents inside a for loop, and this is very dangerous. Okay, it's dangerous in many situations and in many cases to change the contents inside the loop. Okay, now here it won't even work because it will throw an exception. Here it's working, but it's leading to unexpected results. Okay, so filter small words, same one. That's one of the very important examples in this class. Okay, in this like in this session, because it shows us different ways. Okay, now first, we were able to spot the problem using debugging. Okay, that's nice. Okay, what could be a solution here?
Minus I minus and in the remove.
Yeah, so every time you remove a word, you need, Sule is saying, okay, I need to stay back, or I need to stay where am I? So I can use my minus, which is a bit like of a hack, and it may lead to like you not really very readable. So I plus plus, I minus. What if I used something like a while loop? And if I passed a word that's fine, I increase the index of the while. If I remove the word, then I don't increase the index of the while. And I keep moving while there are items, or why I didn't reach the end of the list. So you will feel that a while is a little bit more suitable here, because while can play like for are always supposed to go like step by step. You are not supposed to change the index here. And some languages, I guess some languages won't even allow it. Let's see if it's allowed in C#. So Sule is saying, if you remove the word, then like go back, because now you will go another step. So it feels like you didn't do anything.
You can do it,
Yeah, well, yeah.
but it's no elegant.
Sorry?
You can do it, but it's no elegant.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's no elegant. But like in some, maybe some languages, they won't even allow you to touch the index. Like you are doing a for loop, okay, don't play with the index, or it may lead to unexpected results. But it's
maybe-
definitely not elegant. Yeah.
For this case, you can use while.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what we were suggesting. So like you will notice that all loops almost do the same thing. For each, while, for, okay, like almost they do the same job. But there are situations like Willie saying it's more elegant to use a while. Okay, it's more elegant to use a switch. Okay, like if you are like, while I have items, and sometimes I will advance the index, sometimes I will not advance the index. Okay, then a while is much more preferred than a for. Okay, people, when people see a for, they don't expect you to play with the index inside. Okay, so this may lead to someone after a year reading the code, and they won't notice that, oh, this guy is changing the index here. Okay, which is very unexpected thing to do. Let's see if first this will solve the problem. Okay, so you will notice that it solved it. Okay, it's not that bad, but I want you to try doing it with a while. Let's try it home. not here. Okay, so just note this as like a simple homework to try doing this example with a while instead of a for. Okay. Okay. A question. So what we learned here, we learned about for each, we learned about debugging. We learned also about that when you change the index in a loop, that's not a very good thing. It will most likely lead to unexpected results. Okay, all of that in one
I have
example.
a question.
Sure.
So I don't remember because I'm studying Java 10 years ago, but in C Sharp, the list uh, w- the list work as reference or a value. I mean, if I have the value inside one position in the list, and then I assign another list to this position, I take the value by reference over value.
Well, list is a reference value, reference type.
So if we use the list, and then if I have two lists in my
Yeah.
in my program, one reference to another,
Yeah,
that means that
if you changed the contents of one, it will change the contents of the second one because both of them are pointing to the same place. So you have list words, okay,
yeah.
and you have another list called words one. Words equals words one. Okay, that's what you are saying, right? Like they are equal to each other. Now, if you change the contents of the first list, it will also change the contents of the second list because they are equal to each other. The reference, they are pointing to the same place. And that's what we will learn in the reference class.
That's
That
that's that means that C Sharp in this part is equal to Java because in
well,
Java is the same.
C sharp is almost Java. Like
Yeah,
when they
that's true.
when they created C sharp, many people thought that they stole it from Java. It's like the
Yeah,
same rules. Then like it's almost Java. But for example, every function in Java is virtual by default, while in C sharp they say no, you need to say it's virtual yourself. Okay, so
okay,
there are differences. Okay,
okay,
but the core
it's
the
similar.
core concepts, most of the OOB concepts are almost the same. Okay,
Okay,
especially when it comes to reference types, value types, passing.
I don't know.
It's like many people even think like they will tell you like it's almost the same language. Okay, if you removed all the new fancy stuff like LINQ, for example, the new things that they keep adding to both languages.
Link was the what use in there in remove.
Yeah, so link functions and link queries, something that we will study in a lot of detail. But this is
It's similar.
for
That is
example,
similar
this
to
one
JavaScript.
similar for what?
To JavaScript.
Yeah,
The link,
probably. Yeah,
yeah.
like Lambda functions. Yeah, but like it wasn't in Java. I'm not sure if they added it
In
now, but
Java, I saw that. I'm studying Java 6. Now we have a Java 16. I don't know, 13.
yeah, but they didn't
So,
have something like link for a long
but
time.
I saw something similar now when I looking for C Sharp. So
Is it
it's
official or
similar.
someone just created?
No, it's official. The
Okay, it's
difference is
official.
that in C Sharp we use equal sign and greater than sign, and in Java we use like a dash or no dash, like minus and
Ah,
greater than sign. That's
okay.
curious, but it's similar.
That's the whole difference. Yeah, yeah. It's been years since I worked with Java, honestly, but I preferred C sharp because they had link at that like few years ago, and that's why I stick. And of course, like I was working in a game engine, and that game engine uses C sharp. So there are many reasons why to choose one over another, but like eventually the core concepts are almost all the same. Okay, and many people believe they are like one even is taking from another.
Do you work with Unity?
Yeah, I yeah, it's mostly a hobby. So I worked with Unity 3D. I still do, but they had JavaScript before, but now they only have C Sharp. So
Okay.
now with Unity you can only use C Sharp. So you have to learn it. And even when you install Visual Studio, it will tell you like, do you want to create games with me? So you can install the games things.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So let me just take this one. Okay. So we saw exactly what was the problem using debugging. So I want you really to practice debugging. It's one of the best tools that will, like, many times your code for you makes total sense. Like everything should work perfectly. Once you are stuck, please stop looking and start debugging. Okay? Because like you will be just wasting time. Maybe there is just a small index here or there that you can't even see. You are not noticing. Okay, so debugging will help you very much. Like just stop where you think is the start of a problem, start following step by step, and maybe you are expecting it to go inside this if, but it's not. Okay, and that's when you know, oh, the condition if of the if is the problem, because I'm expecting it to go inside it while it's just jumping over it. Okay, so now you know that, oh, it's this line, this exact word, this exact statement. Okay, so debugging is a very important tool. It's very easy to use. Okay, just put the breakpoint where you want, here, there. And here, for example, if I put it inside the if, then I want to see the first word. Like if I want inside the if, then it will go to the first word that is less than 3. So maybe you can avoid, like maybe you have 100 words that are bigger than 3 and you don't want to keep pressing next, next, next. So if you put it inside the if, that's when it will tell you like, um, I am now inside the if and I is, why is not, I is 1. Okay, so you will notice that when I was 0, it stopped when I is 1 before, because the first word is the word that will go inside the if. Okay, so put it in a place where you want to press like 100 times next, next. Try to find a smart place and try to like guess where is the problem, and it will show you eventually where is the problem. Okay, just going step by step. Okay.
Do we have like 3 extra minutes for you to show us like how the while loop would work instead of I minus minus? Because
Yeah, well, but I want you to try. So I said this is like a homework.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Okay, I'll
we
try.
can do it here, but just try to do it yourself. Okay.
Okay.
It's very easy. It's just playing with the index. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And we have a weekend, so we really need to find something to keep us,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, I had one more question. All those built-in methods and other things like the count and remove and all those,
Mhm.
is there if I downloaded the document but I didn't go through it, not all of them, it's like 2,300 pages. So are they in there or should I be just using the Visual Studio to try out more?
Well, you like I wouldn't recommend downloading anything, because those things are always updated, and you can find them online all the time. We have internet all the time now, so you can go to
Right.
MSDN or the official Microsoft website. You can find each function, each property, everything in detail, and they will give you an example. They will tell you how to use it. It's always there, so you don't really need to download
Oh.
it first. And also, you of course you don't need to read it. Like you don't want to become an expert in C Sharp manual. Okay, uh, we want to learn how to think as programmers and think about those functions just as a tool. Okay, so I have a tool called contains or remove or add. Okay, uh, tomorrow, like maybe you can memorize all of those, but what if you work in another language tomorrow? Okay,
Right.
you won't use any of them.
Just get
But
confused.
if you can think and solve problems, that's what you can use everywhere. Okay, that's what we are trying to learn. Yeah. So don't
C# is
go
in
too far with.
MDN.
Sorry.
C# is in MDN. I looked at it, Mozilla. I couldn't find C#.
I no, I said MSDN. MSDN is like,
MSDN.
yeah, MSDN is like the whole documentation of and
Oh, Visual Studio.
Microsoft Developer Network. Okay, so it has like
Thank you.
examples. It will show you like tutorials and stuff. And,
Okay.
like
Okay,
it's a
thank
very
you.
huge library of thousands of documents. Okay, or you can easily let me show you, for example, here. Can you see my browser now? Okay, so for example, you are talking about list. So I want to know C# list contains or count. Okay, so the first one that usually appears is from docs.microsoft.com. Not sure if they removed them. Usually it was MSDN, but for example, this one. Okay. Now, like they will tell you what is the purpose. So gets the number of elements. Okay, they will give you an example. They will tell you like what are the implements, but let's not talk about that. But the example is very important, and then they will start go in much more details. They will give you a remark like capacity. For example, what's the difference between count and capacity? Okay. They will tell you like you can even see like they will tell you see also, this is also nice, like something similar to count or something that may be beneficial for you. So you don't really need to download anything. Most of the stuff that I learn I come to here over and over. Okay, and you can really learn a lot from here. And this is the official document. It's not like someone wrote it as a hobby or something. Okay, so here like they are talking about different thing. So I'm not sure who asked, maybe Hans, like count versus count function. So here, for example, of course, you know Stack Overflow, right? Like this is the largest Q&A website. And I really like to read from here because you can see different opinions. Many times, like people will be like maybe they have a wrong idea or something, they write it in a blog. But here in Stack Overflow, you see a discussion. So count with parentheses is an extension method, okay, that's related to link. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. While count is just a property because it doesn't have parentheses, which is part of list itself. Okay, so that's I know, but let's see if there is any difference if it does uses so the end. Oh, yeah. So this guy is saying so at the end of the day, there's no difference which one you use. Okay, one is a property from the class itself. One is an extension method by something called link. But I thought maybe it could be a difference or something. But this guy like it looks like they agree. But this guy is saying he prefers count the property over count the function. One is O1, the count could be some, yeah, he's talking about something else.
Okay, I'll take a look into those ones that I need.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I was wondering
Google,
if I needed
yeah.
some sort of like a big resource library
No,
and just to go through it. Okay. Okay.
You definitely don't need that.
Okay.
Google is your resource library.
Got it.
Okay. And of course, always try to realize or notice the website you are going into. Like this is Stack Overflow. This is from docs.microsoft. Those are the trusted websites. Okay. Okay. So we're almost done. That we also only have the last thing here. Okay, so we said that a list can contain virtually anything, integers, strings. Lists can also contain a list. So we can have a list of lists. Okay, this may sound a little bit confusing, but we can do it. So you can create a list that contains not an integer, not not a string, but it also contains a list of lists. So try to imagine it. So it's a big list, and each item is a list itself. Okay, equals new. Sorry, we need to give it a name. List of lists equals new what? List of lists too. And then each one of them, each item in here is what? A list itself. Okay, so to fill this thing, it needs lists to be filled with. Okay, the item of these things are lists themselves. So you can say that this list of lists dot add. So what your code is expecting here? Is it expecting an integer, a string? It's expecting a list of integers. So like numbers. Okay. Now create another list of integers and add it to. Okay. So I want to write a function to print a list of lists of integers. Okay. Have 5 minutes. Okay, so just to save the time here, let's try to do it quickly.
I finished.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? So this one will just print. Yeah, we just have 5 minutes here. So you can go to your break. Public static void. This one won't return anything. Okay, it will just print. So it's a void function. Print list of lists. Okay, and it takes a list of lists of integers. Okay, so I just want to send it here and print it. Okay, and print the size of each one before the uh, the actual list. So of course, I just want for each list of integers inside this thing, in this list of lists. Okay, so for each list, what should I do? First, I want to print like the size of it. Okay, that's the thing. Then I want to print the contents. Okay, so size of size of list. Okay, something like that. Then I want to like how to print another list.
List.
Another for each.
Another for each. Or
Print list.
I already have a function to do that. Okay. And that's when it's okay to call a function inside function, because this function prints list is important for the core purpose of this bigger one. Okay. So now where I can use that, now I can write the for each, the other one, but why would you repeat code? Okay. What would you want to repeat code? Okay. Print list just takes a list of integers and print it. Okay. I will send this item here and send it to print list. And that's it. See, it's very easy once you have the functions, once you can call them, once you know that it's okay to call them here because this is the sole purpose of this function. Okay. Okay, any question? Okay. So as Zach told you, there won't be a lab today. Okay, I'm not sure, like he's busy with something, but anyways, we always try Friday to be a little bit more lightweight than other days. You know, the end of the week, and your mind is barely working. Okay, barely able to do anything. So after the break, we will just solve the question from yesterday. Okay, regarding reversing a string in place. Okay. And that's it. Okay, so I'm not sure how long it would take, but for us, the lists class is done. Okay, and we don't have anything else. Okay, so we will meet after the break. We'll just solve the question quickly, and that's it. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you soon. Yeah. Bye.